You stand at a crossroads of infinite possibilities at this very moment. Right now, countless versions of your life exist in potential, each like a parallel path leading to a different destiny. In theory, you could step onto any of these paths. So why do you keep ending up on the same narrow road year after year? What invisible force is holding you back from all those other lifelines? That force is fear. Fear is the silent architect behind so many lives, quietly drafting the same outcomes over and over. Think of it like a dark radio frequency broadcasting from your mind. And reality is always listening. The universe around you acts like a mirror, reflecting not only your hopes, but also your doubts and dreads too. Carry fear inside you, and that mirror warps and distorts. It starts showing you twisted reflections of the very things you desperately want to avoid. You might pour your heart into a dream, but if part of you secretly fears it, you'll push it away. Have you ever wanted something badly but still worried it might fall apart? That fear isn't harmless. It radiates from you and warps your path. Fear is a repelling force. It shoves what you desire out of reach, even as it pulls in exactly what you dread. Life has a way of giving form to your inner state. Anxiety, dread, and panic aren't just inside you. They shape your world. The more intensely you fear a certain outcome, the more you empower that outcome. By obsessing over what you don't want, you effectively draw a blueprint for it. It's like handing reality a script of your nightmares and letting it start casting the roles. Picture someone standing at the edge of a towering cliff. One step back onto solid ground, and they're safe. One step forward, and one wrong move means disaster. In theory, standing still is the same in both spots. Yet the moment you're on that brink, fear surges up like a wave of vertigo. Now imagine that rush of terror flooding their body, the pure fear of plummeting over the edge. Muscles lock, breathing turns shallow, their stance starts to wobble. In their mind, 1,000 awful scenarios flash all at once. The very ground seems to tilt beneath them, and the more their fear surges, the more unsteady they become. Have you ever felt that eerie pull when you look down from a great height, as if some unseen force were tugging you forward against your will? It's not just in your head. That sensation is what happens when fear throws you off balance. The terror acts like a weight shifting you off center, and the world around you reacts, trying to right the scales. In a split second, one of two things will happen. Either they stumble back to safety, heart pounding, or they slip forward into the void. A foot misses its grip, a desperate hand grabs at nothing but air, and gravity does the rest. The nightmare they feared becomes reality in an instant. The worst-case scenario often becomes real because fear throws you off balance, and the universe demands equilibrium. It doesn't care about your preferences or good intentions, only about restoring balance. The universe will do whatever it takes, sometimes pulling you back from the brink, other times letting you fall. To the universe, both outcomes are equal. To you, one is life and the other is disaster. Nature's laws are blind. It's physics, not fairness. Most of us may not often find ourselves on a literal cliff, but we face figurative cliffs all the time. A figurative cliff is any moment when something important is on the line. A big opportunity, a risky choice, a major change. And what do we do when we stand at those edges? Often we peer over into the abyss of uncertainty and we tremble. You might not lose your footing physically, but think about the times fear has frozen you. Too afraid to act, too afraid to speak up or take the chance. You've felt that invisible force holding you back, or even nudging you away from what you truly want? How many times has your fear of failure actually led you to fail? Think about it. You were so anxious to make a perfect impression that you tripped over your own words. All that worry practically set you up to stumble, or maybe you were so terrified of dropping the ball that your hands literally started shaking. And then you dropped it. These weren't just clumsy accidents or bad luck. They were fear in action. Whatever outcome you fixate on with enough intensity, you quietly invite into your life. Fear acts like a beacon, broadcasting to the world exactly what matters most to you. Ironically, it shines a light on where you're most vulnerable. And life can't seem to resist poking right at that spot. Why? Because fear knocks your inner world out of balance. When you focus on a threat, whether it's real or imagined, you give it way too much weight. That exaggerated importance creates pressure that eventually needs to be released. So the fear you project creates a tension that reality is compelled to ease, one way or another. Think of a tightrope walker high above the ground. To make it across safely, they have to stay calm, steady, and focused. But if panic kicks in and they start flailing to avoid a fall, their own wild movements will throw them off balance. The same principle applies to you. When fear takes over, you overreact and overcorrect. You cling too tightly or you swing too far. You create so much extra tension that you practically cause the very thing you're trying to prevent. It's like inviting a sudden gust of wind at the worst possible moment, or making yourself slip at the exact wrong time. In reality, that balancing gust of wind can take many forms. Sometimes the blow lands exactly where you feared. The job interview you dreaded turns into a rejection, or the relationship you were anxious about starts to crack. Other times, it's indirect. You worry yourself sick about your health, and stress itself makes you ill. Fear pumps up the pressure, and life finds a way to release it. Fear also warps your perception of reality. When you're afraid of something, you start to see it everywhere. A small worry grows into a looming disaster in your mind. You begin to exaggerate the threat, blowing it up to monstrous proportions. It's like staring into a funhouse mirror. Everything gets distorted to look far scarier than it really is. And when you're looking at a warped picture, you end up making bad decisions. You might take a wild detour, trying desperately to avoid that huge imagined threat. Often you stumble right into the very thing you were running from, all because fear twisted your view of the world. Fear holds so much power because, deep down, you've made whatever you dread far too important, something to avoid at all costs. It might be irrational, but your subconscious doesn't care. The instant you turn a fear into a huge deal, you unleash a surge of energy around it. It's like dropping a massive weight on one side of a scale. Balance flies out the window. The universe tends to answer such extremes with a correction. Call it a balancing force. It's not a punishment, but a natural reaction to an imbalance. If you inflate a situation with massive fear, something eventually has to pop. Life will find a way to deflate that overblown fear bubble. And often, it deflates by making your fear come true, just to prove that the monster you imagined wasn't as big as you made it. It feels cruel, like a twisted joke at your expense. But it's really just nature neutralizing an extreme. It's the universe bringing things back to normal. No wonder we have Murphy's Law saying anything that can go wrong will. Live in fear, and you're basically living in constant expectation of disaster. By dwelling on the worst case, you end up paving a direct road right to it. The great irony is that you think all this worrying is just being careful, that your fear is protecting you. In reality, you're aiming yourself like an arrow straight at the very outcome you want to avoid. Fear isn't protecting you, it's trapping you. It shrinks your world and steals your choices. But if fear can shape your reality, then changing how you deal with fear can change your reality too. The key is to stop giving fear so much power. Take back the extra importance you've heaped on what scares you. Restore balance inside, and those outside forces won't get triggered to wreck your plans. The first step is to reduce the oversized importance you give your fears. Sure, the challenge you're facing might be significant, but it's not the end of the world. Remind yourself, no outcome is worth my peace, and whatever happens, I will be okay. When you stop treating every feared scenario like a life or death matter, it's like taking a massive weight off your mind's scale. The energy imbalance starts leveling out. The problem doesn't vanish, but it shrinks back to a manageable size. Now you can see it clearly and deal with it for what it really is. Reducing the importance of something doesn't mean you stop caring about it. It means you refuse to bow down to fear. No more putting fear on a pedestal and worshiping it. Think about it. Your fear of failure once loomed over you like a giant shadow, paralyzing you. Once you cut it down to size, failure becomes just one possible outcome among many, something you could handle if it came to pass, not a world-ending catastrophe. With that perspective, fear loses its chokehold. You regain your balance and start moving toward your goals without that dread dragging behind you. Next, practice emotional neutrality in the face of what scares you. It's easier said than done, but it works. When a fearful thought gathers like a dark cloud, resist the urge to panic. Just notice it. Acknowledge that you're afraid and feel the adrenaline in your body. But don't let it carry you away. Take a breath and let that surge of adrenaline roll through you without fueling it with more scary what-ifs. By staying calm as the wave passes, you deprive fear of the fuel it needs to grow. You're telling your subconscious and that mirror of the world, I'm not in danger. I'm still in control. In this steady state, you remain the one steering your life, not fear. Emotional neutrality is powerful. It keeps you from pouring extra energy into negative possibilities. When you stay internally steady, acknowledging the risk without melodrama, you don't create that excess potential we talked about. You're not desperately hoping for one outcome or dreading another. You simply carry on with focus. In this balanced state, you'll often perform better because you're not wasting energy fighting inner demons. Another technique is simple. Shift your attention. Fear grips you by seizing your focus and blowing itself out of proportion in your mind. So when you catch it screaming worst-case scenarios, deliberately focus on something else. If you've been obsessing over what could go wrong, force yourself to consider what could go right instead. If thinking positive feels impossible in that moment, shift your focus to something neutral but engaging. Dive into a task. Clean your kitchen, go for a run, call a friend, do anything that anchors you back in the present. Fear feeds on those future what-ifs. Pull your attention to the here and now, and you starve the fear. You cut off the runaway story that was fueling your panic. Be mindful. Shifting focus isn't running away from your problems. It's just breaking the worry loop. Once your head is clear, you can return to what scared you without the blinders of panic. Usually, you'll find it wasn't as bad as you feared. With a clear mind, you can face the challenge or seize the opportunity instead of fleeing from a phantom. Another way to dismantle fear is to rethink your view of reality. Life isn't happening to you. In many ways, it's responding to you. Try to interpret every event, even the tough or painful ones, as if it's guiding you toward your goal. For example, suppose you lose a job opportunity you wanted. Normally, you'd panic and think you'll never get another chance. Instead, see it differently. Treat it as a nudge towards something better. Maybe it's pushing you to improve yourself or pointing you toward a path you haven't considered. This isn't rose-colored optimism. It's choosing not to live in fear. When you frame everything as part of a bigger plan working in your favor, you stop feeling like a victim of bad luck. Instead, you become an active participant in your own story. Even setbacks start to look like setups for a comeback. You're engaging with life, not just getting knocked around by it. And that stance alone steals away much of fear's power. This shift in perspective neutralizes fear before it can even take root. If you truly believe that every outcome, good or bad, is working out in your favor, then what's left to fear? You're effectively telling the world's mirror, I trust you. And when you stop broadcasting panic and doubt, that mirror stays calm. It stops reflecting your nightmares and starts revealing new opportunities and hidden blessings instead. Finally, let's talk about reprogramming your deepest mindset through visualization. You're already visualizing your future all the time. But if fear has been in charge, then you've probably been visualizing all the things you don't want. You lie awake thinking about everything that could go wrong. You run horror movies in your head, scene after scene. It's time to change the film. Start visualizing exactly what you do want to happen. Think of it as a deliberate daydream. Picture yourself living the life you desire. See yourself succeeding, landing that job, healing that relationship, overcoming that challenge. Make the scene so vivid, you can almost touch it. See the colors, hear the sounds, feel what that reality would be like. At first, your mind will resist this new film. It's used to the scary old reels. But stick with it. The more you replay this positive slide in your mind, the more your subconscious will start to accept it as normal and achievable. You're training your mind to feel comfortable with the idea of things going right. And once your subconscious feels at home with your vision, it stops trying to protect you by sabotage. No more quietly pulling you back from change. Instead, it starts nudging you forward. You begin noticing opportunities that align with your vision, chances you might have missed before. Why? Because you firmly decided where you're heading and your mind got on board. This is where I'm headed. Over time, these practices truly transform your reality. The funhouse mirror image of your life clears up. You stop seeing a warped reflection full of fear's monsters. The mirror starts showing your true intentions. When you stop bowing to fear, you stop broadcasting distress and start broadcasting confidence and resolve. And reality answers. The echoes of your nightmares fade, and echoes of your dreams take their place. Imagine your life once that constant anxiety is gone. No more invisible chains jerking you back. Instead of running from what you fear, you move toward what you desire. You leave the cramped path of least resistance and step onto a wide-open road that was there all along. A road defined not by running from the dark, but by chasing the light of what you love. Now you know fear's secret role in your life. What will you do with this insight? Let it scare you back into your shell, or let it set you free. The choice is yours. You can step away from that cliff's edge onto solid ground that you choose. And remember, the world is a mirror. Change what you show it, and the reflection changes too. This truth can be hard to face. It's unsettling to realize how much of your life fear was controlling. You can't hide behind fate anymore. From now on, your life is the one you choose. If you slip back into old habits, fear will creep back in and lull you into that same life of regret and doubt. But it doesn't have to be that way. Not after today. Before we finish, I have one request to mark this moment. Write down a single honest sentence declaring that you won't let fear drive you anymore. Make it your personal commitment. Then step away and go live your life fully and freely. When you're ready for your next leap, come back. I'll be right here, waiting at the edge where fear ends and freedom begins.